day, ladies and gentlemen. Today's video is part 2 in this series. You know, when Yah does the discount double check on the fallen high holy ones. As promised, I call this video Yah's Big Throwdown, round 1. Let's begin, shall we? Ezekiel 32 in the Septuagint, quote, "And it came to pass in the 12th year, in the 10th month, on the first day of the month, that the word of the Lord came to me, saying, Son of man, take up a lamentation for the Pharaoh king of Egypt, and say to him," stop! Okay, this time Yah is talking directly to the king of Egypt, the husband, and not the strength of Egypt, the wife. Let's see what Yah says to him, shall we? Quote, "Thou art become like a lion of the nations, and as a serpent that is in the sea, and thou didst make assault with thy river, and didst disturb the water with thy feet, and didst trample thy rivers." Stop! As you will soon see, Yah is talking to Godzilla people, who apparently will make the seas rage. You think I'm crazy, huh? Let's continue, shall we? Quote, "Thus says the Lord, I will also cast over thee the nets of many nations, and I will bring thee up with my hook, and I will stretch thee upon the earth. The fields shall be covered with thee, and I will cause all the birds of the sky to settle upon thee, and I will fill with thee all the wild beasts of the earth, and I will cast thy flesh upon the mountains, and will saturate them with thy blood, and the land shall be drenched with thy dung, because of thy multitude upon the mountains. I will fill the valleys with thee, and I will veil the heavens when thou art extinguished, and will darken the stars thereof. I will cover the sun with a cloud, and the moon shall not give her light. All the bodies that give light in the sky shall be darkened over thee, and I will bring darkness upon the earth, says the Lord God." Stop! Wow! Surely this can't be an allegory or symbolic. Why? Because allegories and symbolic references don't ever mention valleys being filled with Godzilla's blood and shit. Does it? This is talking about a physical entity that lives in the waters. We have heard of this scenario before. You remember Uncle Joel's monster army prophecies. Unless you think the stars will be darkened and a veil over the heavens will happen twice, this can only mean the nations, the many nations that will cast their net to catch this asshole are those who will be much more stronger than humans are. This is where the boss bitch's widowhood comes in. She is married to Pharaoh, remember? But let's continue. Context. Yah hits us with some holy talk and switches to talk to the Israelis. Quote, "And I will provoke to anger the heart of many people when I shall lead thee captive among the nations to a land which thou hast not known." Stop! I know everyone from Miss Sharon to Mr. Felix to Mr. Chad are wondering why I think this is the Israelis. Am I right about it? Tell me if I'm right about it. I know it's the Israelis because they are the only nation mentioned in the entire Old Testament that will be led away captive. You remember, I think it's Uncle Zechariah 14 or so. And the Anointed One backed it up when he said when Yah warned the Israelites living on one side to run to the mountains, and the other side was taken captive. Remember, there is no mention of where they were taken, but we did figure out it was by the monster army even back then. Wait a minute. There will be 2 captivities of the Israelis. The early part of Uncle Isaiah tells us of an Arab country taking some of them captive too. I forgot. But as the prophecy attests, the Israelis will be taken to a land they don't know anything about. Surely that can't be upon the earth as we know it now, can it? What? The Egyptians? Remember, the Egyptians will be captives to the Assyrians in Egypt and Assyria. I didn't mention the crackers that are lucky enough to be our servants because, well, I would think my Hassenpfeffer would be served to me cold if they weren't in close proximity. I don't mean nothing by what I'm saying. I'm just saying. You know what I'm saying? I'm not sure, but when it says, quote, I shall lead thee captive among the nations to a land which thou hast not known, I tend to believe it's not a modern tourist destination. What about you? That, ladies and gentlemen, is why I know it is the Israelis that America stands with. But that's not all. Am I the only person to notice? Many people of many nations will be provoked to anger when Yah leads them through their nations to their final destination. I have an educated guess. It's because only the dumbass Christian nations, you know, the only nations that recognize the Israelis' existence, still believe the charade the Israelis are pulling over on them. The other countries already know who the Israelis are. They have conferences almost yearly about the subject. But let's continue with the prophecy, shall we? Yah is still talking to the Israelis and is about to talk cash smack to those nations that stand with Israel today. Quote, and many nations shall mourn over thee, and their kings shall be utterly amazed when my sword flies in their faces, tearing the Israelis a new anus. Listen up. As they wait for their own fall from the day of thy fall. Stop! So as you can see, when the monster army pull up the deity the Israelis are truly praying to and do all the ugly things we read Yah would do to it and take the Israelis captives and march them to Middle Earth, the rest of the kingdoms will not only be amazed, but will be terrified at the knowledge they are next. Let's continue, shall we? Now Yah uses holy talk yet again and switches back to the king of Egypt. Quote, for thus says the Lord God, the sword of the king of Babylon shall come upon thee with the sword of mighty men, and I will cast down thy strength, his chick, they shall destroy the pride of Egypt. Stop! Remember, she is a boss bitch. How do I know it's talking about his chick? Let's continue. Quote, I will cast down thy strength. They shall destroy the pride of Egypt, and all her strength shall be crushed. I will destroy all her cattle from beside the great waters, and the foot of man shall not trouble it anymore. And they shall stop, the cattle shall no more be trampled on it, and the cattle shall no more trample on it. Thus shall their waters then be at rest, and their rivers shall flow like oil, says the Lord, when I shall give up Egypt to destruction, and the land shall be made desolate with the fullness thereof, when I shall scatter all that dwell in it, and they shall know that I am the Lord. Stop! By saying, the land shall be made desolate with the fullness thereof, can only mean destruction came suddenly while there is good and plenty. Remember the chick prophecy? All of this will happen in one day. Let's continue. Quote, there is a lamentation, and thou shalt utter it, and the daughters of the nations shall utter it, even for Egypt. Stop! Remember, widowhood and loss of children. He shall utter it, and the daughters shall utter it. Perfect match, don't you think? Why are they uttering it for Egypt, you ask? Because they see their mama and their daddy getting taken out. But just like you would do, they will try and help their parents too. Let's continue. Quote, and they, the daughters, shall mourn for it over all the strength thereof, says the Lord God. Stop. Example. This can only mean, as my boy likes to say, they will throw in the kitchen sink. It's all hands on deck, and nothing is too impossible to try. We have already gone over the next section in this complete prophecy. I will skip it and go to the next subsection in the next video. But if you haven't figured out who the strength is, or just can't find it in yourselves to believe a color, I will prove who they are in the next video. But let me leave you with this cliffhanger. Remember earlier in this video where it tells us the nations will bring her daughters to the pit? All we must do is pin the tail on the demons, really. Thank you for looking at this video, and look for the next.